Good afternoon and welcome to Real Wealth's the Texoma Corridor webinar. This is going to be on our two rental funds that we have in the Texoma area. And if you're not really sure what Texoma is, you're going to be an expert by the end of this webinar. So thanks for joining us. This is put on by Grow Developments and NTX Res LLC. We have a lot of people invested in our Texas fund and wanting to understand our Oklahoma fund. So we're going to be covering both and the general area. So with that, let's go to the next slide, and we don't want to waste anybody's time, so want to make sure that for the purposes of the fund that you understand who can qualify. And so the funds are accepting accredited investors only, and that would be there's several ways that you could invest. Entities, if you have an entity owning investments in excess of 5 million. If you have assets, the following entities with assets in excess of 5 million would be corporations, partnerships, LLCs, trusts, organizations. You can see the list there. Or if you're accredited, which means that, again, you would either earn, $200,000 as an individual or $300,000 as a couple, or in a married couple, that is, or $1 million net worth excluding your primary, or you are an investment advisor. This is new, and this allows you to be an accredited investor if you're SEC or state registered broker dealer. Okay, so we're going to go talk about the North Texas and Southern Oklahoma area and why we're excited about having two funds in these areas. So it's far better for my partner, Leah Slaughter, to talk about this part because she's born and raised in this area, lives there, manages hundreds of properties there, owns a very large portfolio there, and co-manages these two funds. So Leah, welcome.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I've lived in this area my entire life. I manage something like 1,600 properties here. And then I personally own about 40 million in real estate here in North Texas and Southern Oklahoma. So I'd like to think I know a little bit something about it. I definitely am extremely passionate about our market and about the potential and just opportunities that we have here. So just as a kind of quick overview, when we talk about Texoma, and I'm going to actually show you a map in a moment, we're talking about this area of the northernest point of North Texas and the southernmost point of Oklahoma. A lot of people don't realize that DFW is the border area of Oklahoma. They kind of think we're down closer to the middle of the state, and that's just not the case. If you're in like downtown Dallas, you can get to Oklahoma in an hour. And so we are very, very close to the border. DFW is a massive metroplex, and so it's just naturally growing that way. Our metroplex has grown very far west, very far east, and very far south. Well, to grow equidistant north, that puts you over the border. And so that is why we're seeing so much spillover into that area. So as a recap, those of you that have heard us talk about this area before, you know, we are creating just an immense amount of jobs right now, both in Texas and in Oklahoma. And so North Texas created almost 300,000 jobs last year. Almost half of those are paying over 150,000 a year. Very few are paying under 75,000 a year. So it's a very high paying area for the type of market we're talking about here. Our price per foot is up about 45% in the last 3 years. Our rents are up over 26% in the last 30 months. We have a huge property tax reduction bill that has been signed and has been signed off by the governor, our state house, and state senators, and that is going to the voters in 4 days. We anticipate it's going to pass because it's no cost to the voters. It's a state surplus doing it, and that is just the first step in the reduction of property taxes. And so I hope to report back in 4 days that it passed with an overwhelming majority. DFW is on track right now to become the third largest metro in the next couple of years, and we are slated to be the largest metro in the entire country by 2100. We make up almost 3% of the country's GDP, and if we were a country, we actually just got upgraded, we would be the 19th largest economy in the world. So we are kind of like our own little microcosm here, and it's pretty incredible. So our governor has been really committed to, as has Oklahoma's governor, in building business here. They want to be very business friendly. They want to be bringing companies in, and they recognized with COVID that there was this massive opportunity in manufacturing and distribution because we had such shortages of the things that we got from overseas that we were no longer or had never manufactured here. So our governor in 2021 started working on putting something together to figure out how we get chip manufacturing here so we never have a repeat of what happened in COVID. And what happened in 2022 is our federal government, who also kind of hopped on that bandwagon, passed the US CHIPS Act. And so that was allocating $280 billion to essentially create semiconductor manufacturing, workforce creation, research and development, and tech hubs in the United States. Now, I'm very excited that Texoma was actually just listed as one of these tech hubs this past month. And so everything that we're going to talk about, all the chip manufacturing, everything that's happening that I've been talking about, none of that was with CHIPS Act money. This is brand new. Texoma made the list. Obviously, we expected them to make the list. And it was not Texas that made the list. It was Texoma that made the list. And that is because they know the spillover is happening. So the CHIPS Act essentially put aside just over $50 billion in subsidies and tax credits and about $24 billion for new chip manufacturing facilities. So when we've talked about what's happening and how they're just getting started, this is what we're talking about. So 2023 comes around and we knew our governor wanted to do something to try to get these companies to want to come here. And so we actually created our own Texas CHIPS Act, and that started the Semiconductor Innovation Fund. And basically what it does is it gives companies benefits that manufacture chips here, and it matches university funds and states that invest in the design and manufacturing projects. And so our colleges are creating these areas where people can come to study, where they can do research and development. We're seeing them start to partner with the high schools in the area, like Sherman High School. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but this is basically another 1.4 billion just to get more coming to Texas. And again, this is new. This is before everything that you saw happen with Texas Instruments and all of that we're going to talk about. So lots of money floating out there that's available. And there's a lot of reasons why they're going to use it here. One of the biggest ones is we are one of the most affordable places to live and do business, which is virtually unheard of for a large metro like Dallas-Fort Worth. And so we have the second highest number of tech jobs added since 2016. We have the fifth highest concentration of tech workers, second most computer-related jobs. It's just really incredible when you look at it, because to have a place that's affordable and also cheaper to do business, that's a top market with the distribution channels that brings, all of the airports, the bus lines, the major highways, all of those things that you don't see in small towns. That's just the incredible thing about North Texas. And it's our geographic makeup and how large we are in our highway system. Like, for example, we have the second largest number of highway miles per capita in the entire United States. And so just interconnectivity is very easy here. And it's why we are able to grow in our suburbs. And so that's why you see us focusing on suburbs. And same reason employers are focusing there. It's cheaper, it's easier to get goods there, it's not so expensive, not so much crime. There's just a lot of benefits. So this is what we're calling the Silicon Prairie. There was Silicon Alley and Silicon Prairie. So if you're hearing those two terms, they're the same thing, but Silicon Prairie seems to be the one that's sticking. So this is a photo we just took. This is the cranes that are building the first of the 4 factories at Texas Instruments, which will be opening in about a year and a half. And so, of course, it's a 4-factory facility, quite incredible. I'm going to show you where these are located. So if you look on the left, you can see where Globotech is coming in. I'm going to talk to you about who they are, and Texas Instruments down to the south at the southern point of Sherman. So that Highway 75, that's actually going to become 45, and they're in the process of doing some exit reductions for exit lanes to make that happen. But basically, if you look down at the right map, you're going to see where TI headquarters is in Dallas. You'll see where their first fabrication plant is when you go a little bit north. And then you'll see here we are going straight up 75 into Sherman. And so to kind of put that into perspective, Sherman from where I live in McKinney is about 34 minutes. And so to get down into the heart of the city, to get from these areas into the heart of the city, it's really 30, 40 minutes. But you don't need to. These are major areas, major employers, and this is exactly why they're targeting them. But I want you to look at the highways, how easy it is to get around. We have all these loops, we have direct access. A lot of these are paid toll roads where there's very little traffic because you pay based on traffic patterns on some of them. Love it or hate it, it really has transformed our Metroplex. So this is the rendering of what the new TI plant is going to look like. And they have been on record saying this is just the beginning. So this is a $30 billion investment. One thing that I do want to mention is Texas did not give enterprise funds for this project. So TI still has opportunities, I think, to go seek funds from Texas for other things. But this is a $30 billion investment being made between TI and partnerships with these areas. So this is actually the largest private sector economic deal ever done in the history of our state. And it's about 4.2 million square feet. The first phase will be complete end of 2024, operational in 25. The largest electronics production facility in Texas. And just to start, it's 3,000 jobs. So really incredible. And again, you need to think about the types of jobs that are coming into a place like this. So it's completely transformative. Of all the projects we're going to talk about today, it's about 10,000 total jobs coming in the next 3 to 4 years max. And this is in a city of 45,000. So this entire corridor is just completely transforming. So the economic benefit here that they got is about $67 million a year from 2025 to 2060. That's the magnitude of money we're talking about. And I've kind of listed some of those out here. So one of the ways that Texas is really innovative in getting these businesses to come and why they keep coming is how all of the different companies and entities involved all pitch in. So you've got the ISD pitching in, you've got the city, the county, the college, they're giving water bill discounts. And then the Texas Enterprise Fund, I assume, is going to kick in at some point with expansions here. And of course, again, I want to reiterate that this does not include federal funding from the CHIPS and Science Act. And so that's a really, really big piece of this, because now we've got this federal money available. Now we've got this state money available. And so it's going to allow, TI is pretty well funded, obviously, but some of these other companies, like you've got Finisar that now has changed names twice, that does Face ID, radar technology, all of that. These smaller companies, they're going to be able to go seek funds for bigger things. So Globotech is another that's right down the street. That's that second one I showed you. And that's 1,500 jobs, $5 billion plant. And again, they're quoting same thing. This is going to be our expansion vehicle for the next 40 years. So what we're being told right now and the magnitude of what's coming, they are just getting started. This is the first plant of its kind in 20 years. The phase one's about 1.3 million square feet, and that's going to be completed, that date is wrong. It's going to be completed next year, and again, operational in 2025. So Globotech is already there and operational. This is an expansion. TI is already there and operational. This is an expansion. And this picture just kind of gives you the magnitude of what's happening there. It is absolutely incredible. So they're getting benefits of about $13 million a year from 2027 to 2069. So $15 million economic incentive grant from the Enterprise Fund. They actually did get Enterprise Fund money. Again, no federal funding from CHIPS and Science Act yet. A $20 million grant, $14 million discounted land from the Sherman EDC. The ISD gave them $221 million, and then the city, the county, and the college again chipped in. So all hands coming together to draw these businesses into this area, which is what is creating such a big just kind of hype, but also price increases and demand, scarcity of property. And so to kind of talk about where we are in the heart of where these places are, 15 minutes to the border at most. And so we are really right at the cusp of the north side of Texas. And so this is that Semiconductor Institute. This was a partnership with TI. This is just one of those education facilities that we're talking about to try to not only bring the workers here, which they're coming in droves, but also train our locals to fill these jobs. Because right now, you saw the jobs report that just came out, there's about 1.5 jobs for every person. And when you get into these high-tech advanced jobs, sometimes those statistics get even worse. And so they're trying to do what they can. So you can see the brand new Sherman High School here. It is absolutely incredible. And this is one of their labs that has been built in part of those partnerships, teaching these kids how to work these jobs, how to build chips, how to do manufacturing and electronics. It's pretty incredible. So I can tell you why Texas all day long, but at the end of the day, it's why Texoma, because it's the land available, but mostly the abundant natural resources. Where you hear all over the news the lack of resources, lack of water, lack of power that's happening everywhere else, Texoma really stands apart. So Sherman, its location is not only better for commute, but it's also because of its proximity to get everywhere. So distribution across the United States, we're at the cusp of all those highways. It makes it very simple. We have rail service that allows them to have spur access completely across the nation. And then, of course, the Texas ports due south just a few hours away for global distribution. Sherman's just an hour north of DFW Airport. And so they get the lower cost of doing business, the lower cost of living, while still having proximity into those areas. There's also Love Field Airport. There's also the North Texas Regional Airport that can handle large aircraft. Right now, they've already prepared 325 acres, and that is waiting for development by aviation-related industrial or cargo operators. And so they just did this $17 million capital improvements project because they know that's what's coming to this area. So that's more to the west. That's kind of in between the Sherman side and a little bit north where our Oklahoma fund is. And then, of course, we have the McKinney Airport that right now does do a lot of commercial vehicles. It is actually an international airport, even though it's not doing commercial flights yet. They tried to pass to create a full new Love Field. The citizens did not want it, but Amazon distribution is right next door. That's actually where they feed our entire area. Amazon's already expanded there. They've already increased the size of the runway to handle the large planes. I fully believe it's going to happen. So I think it's very potential that I'm going to be talking to you in a few years and we're going to actually have 4 major airports here in DFW. At a minimum, we're going to have 3. So big things happening. And again, all of these, the new types of airports that we're talking about in this expansion is all happening to the north. The slide deck does not like me today. So this is Lake Texoma, for the love of goodness. There we go. This is Lake Texoma. And so you can see actually the majority of it is on the Oklahoma side. And this is what makes all this possible. So the reservoir is at full capacity. And so it can handle the water needs that all of these different distribution centers, specifically the chip manufacturing, need. This is actually the largest reservoir in the entire U.S. Army Corps of Engineer Tulsa district. And it's the 12th largest nationwide. And so this is a massive water space. What I tell people is you don't realize how much water Texas has and how much water Oklahoma has underneath, and especially when you look like underneath where we're currently stationed. And if you go dig down, there's water covering close to 70% of Texas. And so like I just bought 35 acres in McKinney. I drilled a well. We went down to almost 1,400 feet and I have unlimited perfect water. And so we have an abundance of that. And that is another reason why you see so much manufacturing coming here. They created this by damming the Red River, which is actually the river that separates Texas from Oklahoma. The average depth is also very deep for this type of man-made lake. It's about 40 feet and the maximum is 100. So this is a massive water source. And this is one of the reasons why we're seeing so much here. But it's not just chips. So we've talked about chip manufacturers coming here, but we've got a lot of other things coming here, especially in this Texoma corridor. So Coherent is the new name for Finisar. If you've heard me talk about Finisar, they first changed their name to IIVI. Now they're Coherent. And basically, they do everything that has to do with your camera and your Face ID technology on your Apple phone and devices. That's built here. And so Apple originally gave them almost $400 million. They came back, gave another $410 million. And now they're doing a $3 billion expansion on their current facility that's going to hire up to another 4,000 people. And again, we saw benefits from the local area to increase that, including an $80 million cap on tax valuation for the next decade. So as Apple grows, as this type of radar technology and things grow, we're going to continue to see them do well. And their contracts have just been getting larger and larger. But it's not just electronics. You can look at the pie chart here and you can see that we are very evenly distributed from the types of jobs that we have, even though here our manufacturing jobs are already almost 6 times our national average. But we've got everything. We've got food distribution. We've got major distribution for Walmart and Sam's Club. We've got other types of manufacturing like aluminum. We have a lot of food stuff that happens in this area. You've got the 2 largest casinos in the world and the 4th largest employer in Oklahoma. There's just so much that happens here. And so a lot of people don't realize this incredible job center that's happening in this Texoma corridor. So here's a snapshot of Grayson County. So that's the county that Sherman and Denison are located in. And you can see what's been happening with their job force leading up to all of these new expansions and hiring. So it's pretty incredible. And it's one of the reasons why the unemployment rate is so low. In fact, the unemployment rate where we're building our new construction Oklahoma properties is one of the lowest in the entire country. So we're seeing big resorts and other types of projects come in like you would expect in an area that's attracting all of these very well-educated, well-paid workers. And so this one project that is now starting in Denison, they expect to double the city's population with this one development. It's about 3,100 acres, over 7,000 homes, private marina, town center for events. So for those of you that have done a tour here, for those of you that have heard me speak before, this is what we're attracting. This is what they're trying to get in here right now. And that is expensive, desirable, and it's a very different situation than what we were dealing with 10 years ago when we started only seeing affordable housing. And again, that is because this is becoming a Silicon Valley. So we've got major land buyers, major developers coming in. Centurion has come in and bought what's going to be this massive development here, master plan community. This is just one of many. And it's in an area where there is a massive shortage of multifamily as well. They have not been building apartments and multifamily up here like they should have been, because builders have chosen to go south where they can make a lot more money doing that. And so it's left us in a very significant shortfall. And that's a shortfall that already exists in our entire area anyway. So Denison has decided that they're going to target all the suppliers of TI and Global Wafers. If you come visit, Sherman and Denison are both great places. But if you had to decide which one to live in, you're going to pick Denison. It's like a Mayberry, very cute. And Denison knows that. They know that the suppliers aren't going to be able to afford Sherman's prices. And they know that their people are, a lot of them, going to want to live in Denison and on the lake. And so Denison has already created what they expect is going to be warehouse space and development space for storage of goods ready for transport. All of that type of distribution network that's going to be needed. So they put 215 acres already into this, another 60 acres for basically just parks and things like that, because a lot of it's floodplain. But again, this is on Lake Randall, another water source up there. We've got three major lakes up in this kind of Texoma area. We've got Bodark and what's over in the bottom side to the east. You've got this lake here, and that's Lake Randall. And then you've got the entire Texoma area lake. And so again, massive, massive amount of water, but also recreation. And so these areas are very smart. They've been planning for this for a decade, and their city budgeting, their city meetings, all of the rules and laws that they've put in place, their city plans have been ready for this and created this. So despite the population growth, as I mentioned, inventory has not really increased. We are still at pre-pandemic levels. We are about at the same level of inventory that we were at the end of 2019. And you can imagine how much this area has grown. Our area as a whole has grown since that time period. So this is the problem, right? People talk about, well, the last crash, we had 4 million properties on the market. Well, right now we're sitting at 900,000. And so this is not just a North Texas and an Oklahoma problem. This is a nationwide problem, but it's exacerbated where we are because of not being able to keep up in building for really since the last crash and beyond, not building starter homes. And also when you have, 300,000 jobs created almost in a year, the number of people that brings in, when you've got 150,000 people moving in, where are you going to put them? So we're only actually building one home for every 5 jobs that's being created. And that's actually dropped now, of course, since rates have gone up. So you can see the values continue to rise. Real estate is strong. It's strong really across DFW and Southern Oklahoma, but it's exceptionally strong in the Texoma district. So that the area where our new construction is in Oklahoma for our fourplexes, some of these areas, although they have 10, 15,000 people, they have 1 or 2 homes on the market for rent and maybe a handful, 10 or 12 for sale. So just massive, massive housing shortages. And of course, that leads to supply and demand issues. And then you have more people moving in, more jobs being created. It's a really big problem. I say a lot that as a human being and as someone who's born and raised here, it's almost like a humanitarian crisis in a way, because I don't know where our kids are going to live and where their kids are going to live. But from an investment standpoint, from a making money standpoint, it's exactly what we want to see. So the first fund I'm going to talk about is our Oklahoma fund. And I again want to reiterate, this is accredited investors only. If you're not yet accredited, I'd be happy to talk with you and we could talk through maybe some ideas or creative ways that you can work to get there. Certainly on our OmniKey side, we do that all the time, but the goal is that you understand how to get there so that you can make a plan to do that. But unfortunately, we cannot take any unaccredited investors in these 2 funds. So I'm super excited about the Oklahoma project, not only because it's right over the border and it's right across the street from the 4th largest employer in all of Oklahoma, but it's the incredible price and opportunity with this. So Oklahoma has not had a ton of development because everyone's been focusing on Texas. And they don't really have their stuff together when it comes to water. And so kind of getting a development going there can be quite difficult. Well, now it's starting to get easier. Now they're starting to see the potential of getting people there. They've got their governor out there talking about cutting state income tax and getting rid of it completely, that they want to be the most business-friendly state in the United States. And so now all eyes are on Oklahoma. So I'm going to play you a video here, and this is going through the area where these properties are and driving by the properties. So you can see these are the homes that are already there in this area. There's lots of parks. It's beautiful. Oklahoma is absolutely beautiful. lots of trees. If you go another like 30 minutes north, it's all hills and you really get into like almost mountains. But it's a really nice area. So this is the street that leads up, and those are our fourplexes right back there. There's the first two that are being built. There are 10 total that we are contracted on. You can see where the land is vacant to the side where it's going to be going next. It's right next door to a Dollar General, which we love Dollar Generals because they're great for market research and data. When we see them come in, we know we're targeting the right area. You can see lots of new construction and development that's going in right now. You'll notice there's not bars on windows. This isn't an area that you wouldn't want to live in. It's fantastic. The highway is right next to it. So this is the highway leaving that street. And what you're going to see is right up here on the left is WinStar Casino. So she's actually exited and made a U-turn. So that's why it's on your right. But this here is WinStar, the world's largest casino. It's absolutely incredible. Each little area is done off a city, but it's more than a casino. It's a full resort, tons of hotel towers. They've got amazing concerts. A lot of Texans spend their weekends up there. So here's the exterior of the fourplexes. You'll notice they're almost completely brick, all individually metered, so tenants pay all their own utilities. This one is a little bit further along now. This one's going to be complete in about 2 weeks. So we have 2 units that are 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and 2 units that are 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom in each building. And we are contracted on each building at $450,000 total, an absolute steal. And I'll show you some of those numbers and why I say that's such a good value in a moment. But just really, really cute area. You can see how the soil is a little bit red. That is from the Red River. So if you go digging up in Denison or in this Texoma area, you will have red dirt, kind of neat. So that is just an incredible, incredible view of what's coming here. And you can just see how beautiful the area is. Even though you're right off the highway, you're just a couple minutes to the border. Absolutely beautiful. So this is another property he built. This is the same exact thing. He just built it a little smaller, and I bought it from him. I just had this one appraised. So my units are 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and this is what ours will look like when they're done. These are just a little bit smaller, and mine just appraised at $530,000. And in this, I have 2 less bedrooms and 2 less bathrooms across that building. So pretty incredible, pretty incredible. Again, we're contracted at $450,000. So right off the bat, I anticipate, and I believe based on this appraisal, we are walking in with more than $80,000 equity at purchase per building. So pretty incredible for what's being shared with the investors on this. And this is the finish out. So you've got stained concrete flooring, you've got beautiful stained upgraded cabinets, you've got stainless appliances, you've got pine stained trim, which people just absolutely love because again, it's that nature feel, neutral colors, recessed lighting. Again, each unit has all of its own utilities paid by the tenants because they're individually metered. These all have central AC, they have laundry rooms, they're spacious units. And so just really fantastic opportunity. Nice big bathrooms. Again, you'll notice they keep with the stained upgraded cabinetry and just fantastic. A big AC unit, so keeps it nice and cool. So let's talk about this area for a moment. So this city is called Thackerville, and this is, again, the southernmost point of Oklahoma. And there are so many employers nearby and just not a lot of housing. The development, again, is right at the border. It's spilling over. There's an extreme housing shortage in this area. It's piggybacking off the growth of North Texas, and also the more unaffordable North Texas becomes, the more Oklahoma looks appealing. And there's a lot of appreciation and high cost of housing that's happening in this area. I'll show you some of those numbers. And within a half hour of the project, there's over 3,700 jobs available. If you're familiar with North Texas at all, we have a massive, massive suburb called Denton. And Denton is a huge employment plug. It's got major university there, huge, huge area. It's like if you were to live here, that might be a city you would live in. And that's 30 minutes from here, from where our properties are. And these are all things that are in right by the property. And so again, this is just a growing area, tons of hotels and things coming in. Casinos drive a lot of the business here. Marijuana is also not legal in Texas. And so anything right over the border has tons of business and money pumping in from marijuana sales. So they go get, I guess, a card to buy it. I've never done it, but I hear it's quite easy. And it's very, very popular in terms of making money up there. So a lot of people, like example, I know here in Texas, are investing in the land and the distribution of marijuana up in Oklahoma. So whether you agree with it or not is not the issue. It pumps a lot of money into the area, and that's, as investors, what we want to see. So these are just some of the examples of the buildings that are in Thackerville. So this is the casino I mentioned. So this is a top 4 Oklahoma employer. That's one of their hotel towers. It is massive. However big you think it is, I promise you it's bigger. huge 5-star restaurants. It's got a massive event venue. You can see here, it's got a Toby Keith's Bar and Grill. It's a destination. It's over 600,000 square feet. It has a 500-person buffet. It's got a global event center that holds over 6,500 people. It's got a huge convention center that's over 65,000 square feet. They have 1,400 luxury hotel rooms. They have a spa. They have a golf academy, 2 championship 18-hole courses, an RV park, 400,000 square feet of just gaming. So again, just so much money pumping into this area, and it's a very luxurious area. This is not like a divey casino. This is a, you go take a week and go on vacation resort kind of place. So this is Thackerville. You'll see that you've got that dotted line for the border that runs right through. And if you look a little bit to the right, you'll see Lake Texoma. I don't know if you can see my pointer, but right up here, that's Lake Texoma. And so this is Thackerville. This is where the property is located right as we cross the border. So this is Highway 82 that connects east to west. And so here's Sherman and Denison. So here's your tech corridor. Here's Gainesville, awesome. And then this is southern Oklahoma where we see Thackerville. So we are 4 miles past the border, and it's the same distance from the metro as Denison. So you'll notice that the border comes south. So if we're talking distance into the city center, this project in Thackerville is actually the same distance as our Sherman and Denison properties. We're about 30 minutes to Denton and other major suburbs in the area. And there's almost no inventory for rentals, as I mentioned. So there were 11 listings for sale and 1 for rent. And similar properties are all 100% occupied because of the lack of housing. So this gives you kind of a snapshot of the housing market here. You can see that there is, so number one, the list prices and the movement of pricing is very skewed because of how low inventory is. So you have one expensive home that comes on, the average goes up very quickly because you just don't have a ton of inventory. But generally what is in Thackerville and what is sold in Thackerville are very expensive luxury homes. And that's why you see such a high median list price. There is virtually no affordable housing and nothing built to house the workers for this area. And of course, they know what's coming too. So there's already a contract approved on the Texas side to widen I-35, what feeds in there from all the way, if you go, down 35, you're going to go through Austin, you're going to go down through San Antonio. And so 35 comes all the way up. They're widening it to 6 lanes coming into Thackerville because they know what's coming to Thackerville, just like what Sherman and Denison did a couple years ago. And of course, on the Oklahoma side, his quote, we have to get I-35 widened to 6 lanes in southern Oklahoma and have to have solutions in place. This is what their governor is out there because, again, he also understands that all of this is spilling over into his market. So this is their non-farm employment statewide, and you can see how much their employment has grown through Oklahoma, very similar to Texas. The unemployment rate average across Oklahoma is 2.9. Love County is 1.9. I saw a couple reports that reported at 1.6. So the area where these properties are located, again, is one of the lowest unemployment rates in the entire country. There's over 360 employers just in this county alone. And then future job growth over the next 10 years is predicted to be almost 50%. That's 47% above the national average. So when I talk about the opportunity of this area and just the incredible things happening, this is what we're talking about. So again, first city when you cross into Texas, it's home to major employers, Saffron Seats, the ISD, North Central Texas College, Walmart Distribution, North Texas Medical Center, IFS Coatings. I could go on and on and on. Just like the other side, when we approach the Oklahoma border, this side has just as much development and growth happening, and a huge rental shortage. So Gainesville is essentially, you come down from Oklahoma, it's the first city you hit. It's a massive, very expensive area that's been going up, just like Sherman is. You'll notice it's equidistant to Sherman, and they also have a massive rental housing shortage. They only have 12 rentals on the market in a city of almost 20,000 people. So there is just a massive opportunity here for us as investors, not only for the Texas fund side, but especially for the affordable housing, new construction fourplexes that we are building. So to show you the size of Gainesville and how developed it is, I wanted to put this up here for you. And you can see there is just everything you could ever need, 4 minutes, 5 minutes from these fourplexes. And so just incredible. And this is that kind of spilling over that we were talking about. You'll notice there's a municipal airport up here too. That's not lost on me either. I think that over the next 10 to 20 years, this area is going to be unrecognizable. So again, this is, so you can see what this area looks like. You'll notice that Gainesville has a really cute developed downtown district, just like Sherman and Denison do. Again, they're very similar areas, lots of recreation, lots of shopping. and lots of stuff to do outside. Texans and Oklahomans alike love to be outside. Actually, one of the prettiest outdoor areas with like a crystal clear water hole and waterfalls you can jump off and all that is right as you cross in Gainesville. So again, more shopping centers, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, all the things that I care about, they're all there. So looking at Gainesville, so this is your first major city. Again, just a few minutes away, you'll see that their market pricing is up almost 29% in the last 12 months. So just incredible growth and opportunity here in this area. If you look at 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms where we typically deal in, prices are up somewhere between 15.8 and 20.6%. So these are very strong markets. They're experiencing massive growth, high dollar paying jobs coming in, and that is really what's building it. But we also were very close to a major city to the north as well in Oklahoma, Ardmore. It's just 30 minutes north, and it's basically equally north and where we invest in Denison. And so it's only a few minutes north of where our southern Oklahoma projects are on the other side for single family that we did. So again, major employers, Dollar General, Michelin, Dollar Tree distribution, Best Buy distribution. There's just, again, this whole area is nothing but employers, and their unemployment rate is also at 3.5%. And again, major housing shortage, only 8 rentals on the market with at least 2 bedrooms for a city of 25,000. So this is a complete area-wide issue, both on the Oklahoma and the Texas side. I put some pictures up here of Lake Texoma for you so you can see how beautiful this area is. And then, of course, everything else that we see in these areas as well. So again, Oklahoma is 100% devoted to getting rid of their state income tax. It's a low state income tax anyway, but he's already cut once, and his quote was he wants to put us on a pathway to zero income tax. Texas is at 0. And we want to be the most business-friendly state in the country, and people are paying attention. Again, you'll see, just like Texas, they have a surplus. And so you know, when home values go up and more employment comes in and more workers come in, the states get richer. At least that's how it's supposed to work, and that is how it's working both in Oklahoma and Texas. So again, these are new construction fourplexes. They are already identified and pre-contracted. Each one is not being bought until completed, inspected, and ready for occupancy. There's 2 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom units in each one, and 2 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom units in each one. Each purchase is $450,000. Again, mine just appraised at $530,000. That's smaller. And most importantly, the builder is paying a commission. And so we are charging no acquisition fee cost for Kathy and I to manage the acquisition of this project. Saves a bunch of money on expenses. So Kathy, I'll let you kind of take it from here and go over what we are looking for.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. I know there were a couple of questions before we get on to this. One was, somebody thought that maybe Sherman was prices were going down. Do you know if that's true or not?
No, Sherman prices are up 8.5% year over year right now, as of end of last month.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm not sure where she got that information. And then we're going to go over the fund details. But one of the things to keep in mind, there was a question, if we do better than the 8% or the 12% target, does that get dispersed? And the answer is yes. These are conservative estimates, just projections on a very, very, very conservative level. We do expect to exceed, and the splits remain. So we're hoping you make more than that. That's our goal. All right. So the terms, the minimum investment is $50,000. Total offering is $3 million. And this is on the Oklahoma one. Minimum raise, $550. Deadline, 120 days from published date, but a 60-day extension. So the nice thing about this fund is that we are going to close on a brand new fourplex right away. There's no renovation needed. So these can be rented right away, and returns and distributions will happen right away. So this is kind of unusual based on past projects we've done. Sometimes it's taken 5 years to get your money back when building a project, but this is already built. So as soon as you put your money in, you should, get the benefit. Offering close date 9 months and with a 3-month extension.
Yeah, one of the unique things about this fund is that we're going to be refinancing the buildings as they stabilize, and then using those proceeds to go buy the next ones as they finish. And that's why the raise is so low. But the end of the project, when we refinance the last ones, that's going to be put to capital payback. And so there's also going to be a capital payback piece to this project that happens in the first couple of years. And so that really makes this one stand out to me.
Yep. So the business plan is to acquire up to 10 newly constructed fourplexes in Thackerville, hold for 4 to 7 years, refinance. First properties purchased will buy more. Well, I'm sorry, let me say that again. The refinancing of the first properties purchased will buy more homes, and then sell or refinance in the future. So the basic fund overview for the Oklahoma project is buy and renovate. Wait, no, oh, this is Texas. Okay.
Yeah, I think that has a typo. It should be Texoma, but yeah, it's Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
So basically,
But
yeah.
says,
So basically, we're buying the 4-unit properties in these areas, and then we'll cash out, refinance these to keep purchasing the next set. And I think one thing we may run into, and it'll be interesting to see, is where these appraise at, because then we'll have to make a decision of how much to cash out, because we underwrote it at that 530. And I think it's possible that we're going to get appraisals beyond that. But when we get to the end, that's where the capital payback will come, because when we refinance the last ones, there won't be anything left to go purchase.
yeah, so we won't be renovating these. They will be already built, brand new, and in Oklahoma. The return, the target return on the build to rent in Oklahoma is a bit higher, 11 to 12%. With a preferred return. The Texas fund does not have that preferred return. It's a straight split. So there is that benefit to this fund, and like we said, a capital payback after refinancing. So the difference with the North Dallas rental fund, and it's only open for a bit longer. So if you're interested in this one, you probably want to jump in to this one as well, although we think that Oklahoma will sell out pretty quickly. So if you're interested in Oklahoma, you'd want to probably invest in that first. And if you have extra money, put it in Texas.
Yeah, Oklahoma is just such a small raise because it's only 10 buildings. And we're refinancing to buy the next one. So if you're trying to decide between the two, but you're interested in Oklahoma, I probably would do Oklahoma, because that opportunity is not going to be there.
Yep.
So moving on to the North Dallas Fund, kind of give you an update of where we are as of today. We have closed on 36 single families. We have 1 single family closing this month. I'm about to contract another package. And then we have 1 multifamily that is already closed. So we've got 11 in Sherman that are single family. We've got a duplex in Sherman, 2 single family in Bonham, 2 in Whitesboro, 1 in Farmersville, 1 in Leonard, 2 in Gainesville, 3 in Greenville, and 15 in Denison. So if you think back to that map where kind of this corridor and everything's coming in, you can see we're just wrapping around that. And this is strategic because these are all those areas where we're seeing the boom. And then Greenville, where we have properties, is its own major city center as well, with L3 Technologies and other major employers. And so both of these areas offer exactly what we're looking for, as do all the suburbs in between. And so just fantastic portfolio that we've put together. Coming in now, the benefit is we already have all these properties. We've got all these stabilized properties. I want to show you examples of a few numbers. We went and got broker price opinions on the first 18 that were stabilized. And so we were obviously very excited with the values that came back. The properties look fantastic. Most of them were at or exceeding the 1% rule. So like this property, purchase plus rehab, is $111,000. Our BPO came in at $160 and rents are at $1,250. So we are over $48,000 above purchase plus rehab price. And it's just turned out beautiful. Again, these are full remodels. And so that is what you are seeing here. And it's just the same finish that we're going to do whatever we're doing. So we want things that are going to last through the duration of the tenancy. And they're things that we don't want to have to replace when we go to sell. So granite countertops, vinyl wood flooring, upgraded shaker cabinets, those types of things are what we're using not only in the new construction that we do, but also in these renovations. And so I think that these are properties that you would walk into and maybe even be nicer than homes that you look at for yourself to live in. And that is because of the price that we can get these things done for. You'll notice 2-inch faux wood blinds, ceiling fans, just really, really pretty homes. And so because these are Class A finish out, we attract that Class A tenancy, and that's what we're looking for. So here are some before photos so you can see what this property looked like before we renovated it. And it obviously has come a long way. Here's a big one we did in Collin County. And so we bought this one for 132. We renovated it for 55. Rents are 1920. Our purchase plus rehab was 187. This home's over 1,850 square feet, and our BPO came in at 275, over 88,000 above purchase plus rehab. So again, just fantastic return. And this equity is shared between us and the investors. And so all of this captured equity is a great thing. And especially if we do have drops, you know, if rates come down, my intention is to go refinance these and go buy more properties. So up through year 3, anything that we refinance will go to buying more properties. Unlike Oklahoma, where at the end it goes for capital payback. And so the goal is to build the fund as large as possible, because every one of these has that equity capture, and that's instant money that everyone is making that's in there for when we exit eventually or refinance. So of course, we want to have as much of that as we can while we can take advantage of what's happening. Again, you'll see absolutely beautiful home, huge floor plan here. This one went great. This is what it looked like before. If you were a shiplap collector, I have never seen a big house with so much shiplap like this one had. So this is one that we bought in Sherman. And so this is just a few minutes to TI, awesome location. We bought it, only needed a little bit of work. So we're in it for 136,100 of purchase and rehab. Rents are 1475, so exceed that 1% rule, and the BPO is 210,000. So over 73,000 above purchase and rehab. So, you know, you start thinking about how all these numbers add up, and it amounts to a significant amount of equity capture that we believe we have on these properties. There's one in Greenville, bought it for 88.5, put 38,500 into it, all in for 127 for purchase and rehab, and it rents at 13.99. A BPO came in at 180, 53,000 above purchase and rehab. Beautiful finish out on this one as well. Here's what it looked like before. So one thing I like to talk about is this one does look cleaner, right? So you would think it's cheaper to renovate. That's actually not the case. If I'm gutting a kitchen, I'm gutting a kitchen. It doesn't matter whether it's a decent kitchen or a horrible kitchen. And so that's one of the ways that we're able to pick up some of these really ugly ones, is people think it's more expensive, even though in reality, if I'm doing a kitchen, I'm doing a bathroom, it's the same either way. This is another one in Sherman. We picked this one up for 114. We spent 88.70 in renovation, and all in for 122,870, rented at 12.90, again above 1%. BPOs for 175, so over 52,000 above purchase price. This is one of my favorites. Such a cute house. I actually tried to find that bathroom tile they used to put in my new house. I couldn't find it, but I got pretty close. Here's another one in Sherman. This one here is we bought for 154,800, very little work, spent about 5,000. Purchase and rehab in for 159,830, BPO for 215, about 55,000 above purchase plus rehab. Again, super great finish out, just looks great. This is the duplex that we bought. We bought it for 225,000. And we spent about 1,500 because the renovation had already been done by the seller. And we're all in for 222, and our BPO came in at 311,150, so almost 90,000 above purchase and rehab. Another very, very cute property. Another one in Sherman. This one we bought for 169.60. Again, needed very little. We spent 1,500, all in for 169.60, and our BPO came in at 200. So 39,040 above purchase and rehab. You'll note that we focused a lot in Sherman where we could, because we know what's happening there. So to give you some numbers here, our BPO valuation on that first batch came in at just over 3.6 million. Our acquisition cost just over 2.6 million. So potential equity is about 944,000. Average equity based on the BPOs of this batch is just over 25%. So absolutely phenomenal, far above what we anticipated we were going to do. So very pleased with those results. And here's pictures of a few more. And these are in Sherman and Denison. Just super cute homes. So business plan here is really similar. Kathy, feel free to interrupt me, but very, very similar. Acquire 1 to 4 units, renovate with high-end finishes, lease to the professionals that we're targeting with the Class A finish outs. The target return here is 8% annually. This return is different because it is not factoring financing. So of course, if rates come down and we go finance, as we anticipate we will, the return should go up significantly. And then time frame here is 3 to 7 year hold. But again, it's really going to be dependent on what we see the market doing. We're going to see TI in all these places opening. I anticipate we're going to see a massive increase at that time. And we want to make sure we give enough time for those things to happen. We don't want to sell too early, especially in an area seeing what this area is seeing right now. So this one has forced appreciation, which is actually very similar to what we're seeing on the Oklahoma side. The difference is this is a renovation to get that appreciation and equity, whereas Oklahoma, we just managed to contract it at an incredibly good price, and so that equity is built in that way. A cash flow during the duration of ownership, that'll come from rental income, and it'll be paid out quarterly once the properties are stabilized. We've already started distributions. And the profits are, we anticipate, going to be not only from the equity we captured at purchase, but also the growth of the price over time. And that will be the same we expect with both Texas and Oklahoma. So we're looking at previously renovated homes, new homes if any fit that. I actually put out offers on a few new ones a couple days ago. Properties needing renovation, and predominantly single family homes or 2 to 4 unit properties, which is what I prefer. So it's a diversified fund of rental properties with current cash flow, long-term appreciation. We want these high growth markets in North Texas. We have vertical integration of company operations because I already have the company that can handle the property management and the staffing. So it saves expense for the fund, not having to hire employees and a lot of those other expenses that eat up returns on funds if you invest in some of the very large ones. I have access to significant deal flow because I've already been doing this model for myself. And so most of what I buy is completely off market and it comes directly to me. And then as mentioned, we're going to purchase all investment assets on a cash basis. So everything that you see here, we own in cash. And when rate drop, we anticipate going to go renovate and refinance those out, go buy more and go renovate more. So the minimum investment here is also $50,000. The total maximum on this fund is $20 million. And the offering close date, we are in an extension right now, and it will be up in February, and the fund will be closed. So this one has about 3.5 months left. And again, Oklahoma is a very small raise, and so just a little bit different in terms of what the opportunity is there. So distributions here is 100% of capital returned to investors first, and then 75% of the profits go to you, the members, and then 25% to us as the manager after capital is 100% returned. Distributions are made at our discretion after expensive fees and allowing for reasonable reserves. We do quarterly distributions after 2 calendar quarters of being in, and basically that gives preference to the early investors who invested early. And so if you were to join today, after 6 months, you would begin receiving your distributions. So target return on this one, again, is 8% in a cash hold. And our term, I anticipate, will be holding close to 7 years. So when I think about the similarities between these two, they both have this forced appreciation equity capture piece. One is because we're doing renovations. One is because of the price at which we contracted. Both are going to have cash flow during the hold period. They are both in the Texoma Corridor, and they both have the same team. So they have the same managers, Kathy and myself, and the same property management team behind it as well. The differences are location, North Texas versus Southern Oklahoma. The property types are different. North Texas is renovated homes. Oklahoma is new construction. Both have warranties. North Texas, we've put home warranties in place. Oklahoma, we have builder warranty from the builder. The refinance proceeds are being used differently. Again, North Texas, they're going to use those refinance proceeds if we go cash out refinance. We'll use that to continue buying more properties up until year 3. In Oklahoma, those cash out refinance will go towards purchasing additional units and then at the end give capital payback. And then the hold period is a little different. North Texas is 4 to 7 years. Oklahoma is 3 to 7 years.
Okay.
So for more information,
yeah, people can go to growdevelopments.com to get to watch these webinars, to download the documents. You can see now the Invest Now tab where you log in, and then you'll get access to all of that information at growdevelopments.com. But Leah, we've got some questions, so I'll just go through them. We already answered the one, newbie to syndications. If the fund's performing better than 8% cash on cash, will the investors' distributions go up? The answer is yes. Next question, when I see an offering memorandum, I often see an item called equity multiple. what is the equity multiple on both of these two funds? That's really applied to multifamily projects. So, I mean, do you want to answer that, Leah?
I don't think it's appropriate for these funds.
Exactly.
It addresses, there's more details on the return and how the offering works from that perspective in the PPM. But an equity multiple is basically the return of your money and what the multiplier is for that. And it really is, we see that mostly when we're dealing in commercial and multifamily purchases where you're doing some type of, again, forced appreciation or something on a large scale. I know we ran it when we did this because it's part of the calculator, but this is a very simple fund, very black and white, kind of easy thing to follow without all the complexities of what we typically see when those are presented, like bridge loans and multiple refinances and all that type of stuff. This is a very, from the purposes of a fund, this is a very odd type of fund. You don't typically see a single family renovation fund because typically the overhead is so expensive to do something like this because people don't already have a team. You know, they want to charge 20-30% on the rehab to oversee it. We're not doing any of that. I already have the teams doing it for me, so it was very easy to kind of absorb that in. This is, when you look at funds, this is not a typical thing that you would see. Kathy, would you agree with that?
Yeah, and with the equity multiplier, it really comes down to debt, the amount of debt you have, and at this point we do not have any debt. So if we do get debt, it would be to we would be getting our money back out because we forced so much appreciation and we would buy more properties. But at this time, debt isn't a great option because it's so high, although it is coming down today.
Yes,
a little bit better.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so it's like if you're looking at a multifamily project, that equity multiplier can help you see the stability of the asset because of the debt. Again, it just, this type of fund doesn't really have that.
Yeah. Regarding the single family rental fund, when did the investors receive their K-1s for the 2022 tax year?
Early 2023. We have a CPA that handles all that.
Yeah. The single family rental fund owns houses in multiple cities with a large footprint. How does the fund ensure that the houses are properly maintained?
There's professional property management on the properties.
And that in the property management is in those areas already managing properties. So yeah, the property management company is, how many properties does OmniKey manage?
I think we have
currently?
Close to 1,600, something like that. Yeah, and I personally in these areas I probably own 40 properties just in Sherman.
So OmniKey has teams set up in all of these cities. This is the areas where they already have quite a lot of properties under management. And then Leah and Michael together also own properties in these areas. So that's one of the reasons you don't go into other areas, right? You don't want to be spread too thin.
Yeah, and we don't like them. I'm very picky
right.
Where I will invest and where I want to manage. Like we avoid inner cities. We don't like high crime areas. We don't like dealing in properties that are going to be problems. And so we're very particular in what and where we want to do.
Okay. Do investors get financials on the fund on a regular basis quarterly?
Yes, you actually have a portal that you get access to that is up to date for you, where you can log in and get all your info. And then you get quarterly financials from us as well. And then of course, we're doing updates on these webinars all the time too. And even if you follow me on Facebook, you're actually seeing the renovations posted on my Facebook as
well. For the North Dallas Fund, what factors would you look at to determine if it's time to get a loan or to use leverage?
So for me, it's how the cash flow works after a cash out. And that really is derived from interest rates. I have very easy access to financing and money because of just the operation that I have and my personal portfolio and a lot of other factors. So I've already got banks willing to do it. It's just when rates get low enough to make it advantageous. I'm hoping that by next summer, if I had a crystal ball and I were to guess what that crystal ball would say, guess being the key word, I think next summer as we approach the election and we're about a year out from kind of when things started to improve from the inflation standpoint, I think is when we're going to start to see rates really come down. So we'll be heavily assessing at that time. But we also are not in a rush. because I'm always going to be able to find property to go buy and renovate. And so I want to make sure we don't go too soon and then rates keep dropping. So I think between Kathy and myself, we're both well equipped to review that and make that decision based on our understanding of the financial markets.
Yeah, we really need to see the cash flows be higher than the debt. So at 8%, it's not going to work. But if we get down to 6, well, we might look at it. And obviously, if it gets in the 5s, then we have to do it. It only makes sense. Okay, somebody wanted to know why there might be liens on properties with front yard violations.
So when we buy a property, the liens are cleared before closing. We have title insurance. We're a title insurance state. We close at title companies. The one that we use is run by an attorney. And so all liens have to be cleared and a title insurance policy issued before we close on the property. So that's not a concern.
Okay. But during renovation, you might get a lien. She said that she thought she saw some liens on the properties currently.
No. If a city has to come out and mow, which generally doesn't happen, but if they do, they just send you a bill. Cities don't go put liens on properties like that. I mean, it has to get pretty far along before you're going to see a lien on a property. Now, I'll tell you, many of the ones we bought had liens in place that had to be cleared. But that's because some of these properties were sitting vacant for a year. A lot of estates, a lot of, properties that were left in trust that had to go through, handling someone's death and getting through their estate and all of that. So sometimes they've been sitting a while and no one really wants to pay those bills.
Okay. So it just could be outdated data. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I mean, you can go search history on these old ones and see how far back they go, but then title has to go beyond that. In Texas, there's actually a title examiner who goes back, and because we do title insurance, they have to go really far back, really deep. Like we even had one where the previous history was so old that the surveyor couldn't even get the lot lines right, and they had to go dig in county records. So some of these houses are from the 40s, from the 30s, and so they have to really go digging to get everything cleared.
Okay, very good. All right, well, that's all the questions we have. Thank you, Leah, for joining today and giving such an excellent presentation and overview. Thank you all for joining during your lunch break. If you have questions, you can reach out to syndications@grovedevelopments.com. Either Ann or KMAC will get back to you right away. And certainly, if this is your first syndication, you may have questions on how to fill out the offering documents, questions about the PPM. That can all be found on the website at grovedevelopments.com, and both Ann and KMAC are available to answer those questions. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.